down. To all our new fans and our, our regular traditional family, as we like to call them, we appreciate all the love. Real quick before we get into this, the top robberies of all time in boxing, created by my dude Ride or Die. Just wanted to remind everybody, you have to request it as a friend if you want to chop it up on the best boxing show on the planet. The residential advisor Ride or Die, put this policy in place so we can have a classy joint where you can chop it up about the best sport in the world. So remember, send us a friend request so you can, get it in. We're not ignoring nobody.
Speaking of class, do you respect wood?
Yeah, I respect wood. Roger, I'm banging on the board table.
You kind of had your coffee mug sitting on the run. I just want to know you respect. Shout out to Larry David. And the rumors about me and Coltrane having that fight in Starbucks and him dangling me off the roof of a 12-story building is false. It's still all good.
Don't believe the TMZ rumors.
Yeah, don't believe that.
Shout out to Tiger Woods. So we're going to get right into it, round table discussion created by my dude Ride or Die, the worst robberies. I shouldn't say all time, we're not going back to the beginning of time. We're going to kind of keep it in a modern day era, the three previous decades, if you will, the top robberies that we've encountered as boxing fans. I don't know who want to spark it off. You want to spark it off?
Okay, I'll spark it off. I'll spark it off like something we used to spark back in the day that helped you think clearly.
JK.
There was a time, I'm trying to think of the time frame.
I think it was 99.
No, it wasn't 99.
Which
we're going to do, I like to build and set things up. This was about...
That sounds like mayhem upstairs.
You got it. Shout out to Big Mike for being the resident babysitter, Daddy Daycare today.
Yeah, first time in GYGB history where all kids crash the table.
I think it was sometime, it was early 2004 if I'm not mistaken. That's something I guess we can't just call BJ, he'll have the years and stuff.
Shout out to BJ Murray.
2004 early, it was the big lead-in for the Oscar De La Hoya and Bernard Hopkins fight. So they was both supposed to take tune-ups, and Oscar takes this sort of unknown fighter named Felix Stern for his debut at 154 pounds. And we knew from the door, Oscar didn't look like he trained that hard.
Yeah, the fanny pack.
Yeah, a little
fanny
pack.
Yeah,
a little fanny pack, and that's where Oscar was playing both sides of the fence, being a promoter and trying to be a fighter at the same time. That's like Jay-Z trying to be an executive at Def Jam and drop albums at the same time. So then you have that Kingdom Come album. That's your result. So, Oscar comes in and eats jabs all night from a very solid, very, very good fighter named Felix Stern, who reminds you a lot of Ronald Winky Wright. Kept the jab in his face, kept going to his body, kept countering, basically dominated the whole fight. But in the name of business, you cannot have a prelude and not have a climax. So, the big Oscar Bernard fight was in jeopardy. So they pulled the rug from under him and gave the bout to Oscar.
One of my favorite robberies of all time was Shane versus Oscar #2.
Oh, Oscar was involved.
Yeah, Oscar was involved, but Oscar was on the other side of this thing.
Right, all the chickens come on the roof.
And Oscar was giving Shane, he was really outclassing Shane.
Yes, he was.
And
laid the blueprint how to beat Shane.
He did. And he really turned it on towards, Shane started to pull up a little bit towards the end, but Oscar really, if you look at the whole fight in its totality, Oscar really had that fight. But the funniest line at the end of the fight, when they read the final card, and they said, and the winner, I think it was new, right?
That's how he got his belt back.
Yeah.
That's how he got his belt back.
Yeah. And new, and Shane went, oh! His reaction was
Shane was an honest guy, though. I will say, at the end of the fight,
his reaction was everybody's reaction that watched that fight. He was just as shocked as we all were.
I was in Antigua when I saw that fight.
Huh?
I was in Antigua.
I thought it was hilarious. Shane's reaction. He was like, oh!
It was a robbery, but I didn't feel bad because De La Hoya got so many gifts throughout his career.
I didn't feel bad either because at the time.
But it seemed like a conscious, like they seemed like they was doing something to Oscar because you had the Trinidad situation, then you had that situation.
Well, like my man told Frank Lucas in American Gangster, your success took a shot at you. What are you gonna do? You gonna shoot back at success? You get stronger. His success took a shot at him. Is what happened. The ghost of Jermaine Teller will forever haunt any Lou DiBella fighters for what happened to Bernard Hopkins. You've seen it with Sergio Martinez. karma is something deep, but that's my man Big Mike.
You know, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. We go to Jermaine Teller, man.
I just recently learned a lot about karma.
Yeah,
really. How real it is.
It's real. It's really real. Hoya was supposed to be the next boxing darling. So, you know, he had a somewhat of a fill-in fight, supposed to be a tough fight from a la Berto Collazo type of fight, and my man Clarence Bones Adams, in my opinion, one of the most underrated fighters in the last 10 or 15 years. But here's what the problem was in that fight, and I talked to my dude Ryder Dobb about this earlier, and you know we keep it authentic here on GYGB. Because Clarence Bones Adams is a white fighter, and if you remember around that time, if you didn't fight like Mickey Ward or Torre Gotti, they couldn't respect a white fighter with a proper astute boxing game like a Clarence Bones Adams. And Clarence Bones Adams, if you haven't seen this fight, go YouTube it, go Google it, and check it out. Clarence Bones Adams thoroughly outboxed Paulie Ayala from 1 through 12 in that fight. And the scorecards that was read off was a joke in that fight. And Bones Adams kind of understood the politics. He was the name, he was the draw, so he kind of understood it. I just feel bad because he got robbed and ended up fighting again. And I thought Paulie Ayala beat him the second time, but it's so hard. You pour all your emotions and blood, sweat, and tear out in a fight, and you get jerked like that. It's hard to bounce back sometimes. So out of the last 12, 13, it's been a lot of them. But that fight right there really bothered me because Paulie Ayala was so overrated. And look, where did he end up going? Nowhere. He beat an old Johnny Tappy, and that was pretty much his claim to fame. Open judge. So I'm going to tell you why. To me, what makes boxing the ultimate sport is the unknown factor. Like, you telling me the score, I agree with that. I don't like that.
Coltrane, at the fourth quarter, if a team is down, they know that they're down, right?
But they
hold on, and they can turn it up and make the fight and make the game more interesting by trying to come back. The same way with a boxer. The boxer know he's down. You know,
but
if he know he's down 5 rounds to 3.
So if he's down and he know he can't win, all he needs is a knockout, and he's not a knockout type fighter. What do that do to the fighter?
It means you got to dig deep.
But that's easier said than done. I think not knowing, you know, you can kind of psychological.
But it's a flawed system. So
boxing is the only sport where you can be down 10 rounds and win in the last round. There's no other sport you can really do that.
But I think as a fan, though, not knowing and hearing the scorecard,
but when you got a senior citizen from, you know,
well, that's judging.
Pakistan, you got a senior
or a lady that never watched boxing,
who never really followed the sport, sitting there judging it. You know, I think you know, we always talk about this. Boxing as a whole needs to be stripped and retooled. As far as the sanctioning, as far as the, you know.
Yeah, I mean that's.
But I mean, he made a good point there.
No, I mean it is a good point, and I agree with you. Like in every other sport, you know the score at the end of each quarter.
Exactly.
And the team not gonna quit if they down by 8 touchdowns in the fourth. So your comparison is a good one. I'm just saying as a fan, for me, I like the fact of not knowing just the anticipation of waiting and hearing the score.
Yeah, I understand.
But we also
but I like the transparency, and I think it keeps judges honest.
So you think it keeps the judges honest rather tallying up scores? Shout out to Guerrero, you know.
In terms of the worst rivalry, has to be Evander Holyfield, Lennox Lewis won. I mean, they're supposed to unify the championship. Holyfield came off a lackluster performance in his Born Bean. You know, you remember his name, Eugenia Williams.
I remember that.
All right, she was the one that actually gave Guzman and Funica. Right, she scored it for Guzman.
Right.
And you know, that was pretty much a travesty. But the same thing was the feat here. You know, she scored this fight for Evander Holyfield. Now, you know, further to the fight, Evander Holyfield has said, you know what, prior to this fight, you know, everybody was saying how Holyfield was done. He just knocked out Mike Tyson. He was back on his comeback.
Right.
He beat Born Bean, you know, and he said that God told me that I'm going to knock Lennox Lewis out in 3 rounds. And Lennox Lewis was kind of scared up into the 3rd round. Then he went back in his corner, untouched. Holyfield looked gassed. And Lennox Lewis did what he normally did. He just jabbed and ate away with it. It was a
climactic type fight because Lennox was really risk averse. You know, shout out to Big Mike, that's his word. He was really risk averse. That was just like I've never seen Lennox that cautious with any fighter in his whole career.
Right.
both fights.
Yeah, but on the flip side though, like you said, he was a total tactician in that fight. He jabbed Holyfield head off. Holyfield can be aggressive. Holyfield actually threw the least amount of punches, I guess they said, for a heavyweight in that fight. Something like he was averaging. And his connect was really low too. So it was totally much a travesty to score that fight a draw, let alone a win for Evander Holyfield. Now justice was served after the fight because Holyfield lost and Lennox Lewis won. However, it doesn't negate the fact that these rivalries are what's causing the sport to have a very bad name and put a very bad taste in it.
Holyfield attached a couple of them. Remember the first John Ruiz?
John Ruiz,